Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the four Radibros. Here, remember last time when I mentioned there was one more missing guys in our, four Radibros? Well, welcome Arnold, everyone.
Yes, welcome Arnold to the show, right? And of course to our new viewers, right? My name is Neil. I'm going to be the host for most of the time. This is Jerry, right? And like we just mentioned, this is Arnold. So Arnold, go ahead and introduce a little bit about yourself, please.
I have nothing much to say. I am but a student of a first year in the social sciences and humanities university. Thank you.
Okay, right. Thank you very much, Arnold, right? And currently, right, today on the Four Radibros Podcast, we're going to talk about a very interesting topic, right? And that, of course, should also relate with each and every one in our life as well. Introducing the topic of responsibility. So, let's kick it off with the very simple question to Jerry first. What do you think is the definition of responsibility?
Responsibility. I think it's like the feeling that you have to compel to do something or restrict it to a certain area to benefit the society as a whole or just like a small group or individual.
Okay, right. That's a very interesting definition coming from Jerry, right? I agree with most of what he said, but I wonder if Arnold has a differing viewpoint regarding this definition.
First off, we haven't really established a whole set of definitions first, so I'd like to set that baseline. So, what is responsibility? Many would ask themselves, well, is doing chores a responsibility? Is going to school responsibility? Or perhaps just listening to your parents, it could be a responsibility as well. So what are those threes having in common? You are trying to benefit the whole, but you're also thinking about what you could do to benefit the whole. Basically what I mean is that you have to think of everyone else first before you can think of yourself. That's what responsibility is.
Okay, right. So as Arnold just mentioned, right, is that his definition of responsibility revolves around the benefit of others people, putting the other people's benefits first. Sorry there, right? And yeah, that's actually a very interesting way for you to think about it as well. Wouldn't you agree the same?
I can agree.
And when we talk about the definition of responsibility, right? For me, I have I would say a much more tame or a much more, would you say it, simpler kind of definition, right? Is that the obligation, right, or the fact that you need to do something, right? Similar to what Jerry mentioned earlier, okay? And when we talk about responsibility, could you share a little bit about your personal examples, Jerry, in order to make the viewers understand a little bit better of what responsibility should be?
Example. Well, in my life in everyone's life, there's a lot of responsibility. Let's say, for example, in class, right? Well, in Vietnamese class per se, there's something called how do you call it in English?
What are you looking for?
Class chores.
Yeah.
Oh,
class
yes.
chores.
Okay, yeah,
Right.
yes.
There's class chores, and everyone have to distribute among themselves to do it. And the responsibility is when is your day, when is your task to clean the class, wipe the board, or arrange the table. Well, that's your responsibility. You have to do it. Well, for me personally, now I'm a college student. Now my responsibility. Well, for now, my responsibility to myself is get those pumps up.
Get those pumps up.
Yeah.
Right.
I gotta take care of myself, and that's my responsibility to myself. And I think that I can say the same for the most of you.
Right. Thank you very much, Jerry, for the very quick example, right? And as everyone just heard, right, you can see that earlier Arnold mentioned that responsibility is more about thinking for other individuals. But in Jerry's example, he just mentioned that to himself, right? His responsibility is to stay fit. So, Arnold, what do you think about this currently conflicting definition? Do you think they include, right, or they support each other, or are they like entirely different viewpoints?
I mean, we both have different viewpoints, but it still remains the same that we're trying to benefit something from that. What I aim to benefit is trying to keep the peace of everyone else around me first before I could focus on myself, while Jerry is trying to focus on himself, because I think he believes that if he can do something good or something that he can do best, then he can kind of just like spread it around himself. My
Right.
approach is kind of implosion.
Okay, right. I understand what you mean. So, right. So, as all of you just heard, right? Arnold, in Arnold's viewpoint, right? I guess you could say that when you combine these two definitions or two differing viewpoints, right, you get a more complete picture of what responsibility is supposed to be, right? For Arnold, he thinks that benefiting the other people around you, right, will be something that you do, and that's your responsibility. And from then, only then, can you benefit yourselves. Meanwhile, Jerry thinks that by being responsible to yourself, you lift the burden of other people having to care for you, right? And that's also a very interesting viewpoint to consider as well. If I understand this correctly, Jerry, may I ask? So with your example, right, when we say that you take care of yourself, does that mean like it could mean that because you are taking care of your health, right, you don't really need to pay for a lot of medication if you get sick, right, because you have good health from exercising, right?
Yes, that's true. But what I feel like another big step is that you are doing it for yourself. You're doing yourself a huge favor, and that's for the future as well. So you get fit, and everyone like you.
Right. Thank you very much. Okay. And of course, right, when we go back to our definition, right, let's actually ask Arnold for his own personal example as well. So Arnold, can you tell us about your own, example of being very responsible?
Well, I can think of simple ones close at home, such as doing chores, maybe just taking my dog out at my house. I have a very cute dog. He's very energetic, and that's why my responsibility first off in the morning, take him to go to the toilet, and then my second responsibility is just cleaning my room, even though it's still very messy. But the point is that you're still trying to spread out your responsibilities, because in a household, I'm just speaking of a very specific example. In a household where there's 4 people, you have to do something, your parents have to do something, and maybe if you have a brother or sister, they also have something to do. But you have to share the responsibility so that you can make it easier, so that you can take the burden off of everyone else. For example, when it comes to setting up the table or maybe cooking, then maybe my mom would do the cooking. Me and my brother, we would set up the table and then try to clean up whatever's left from the last meal, and try to make it presentable so that it's an enjoyable experience. So when we eat together, it's more digestible.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Arnold. Right. Once again, very detailed description from him. Right. And as all of you heard, right, is that each person in Arnold's house, right, has their own responsibilities when it comes to dinner time. Right. It's a very good example as well. And of course, speaking of which, right, as Arnold just mentioned, it segues into our next section really well as well. Right. Is that each person has their own different kinds of responsibilities, right? So the next question to Jerry is, right, do you think, let's say that can a child go to work, right, to make money as a responsibility for their parents? I'm talking like a child that's maybe a high school student or younger.
A child going to work for their parent. Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it a responsibility, but to them, they might feel like it's their responsibility to take care of their family. But that depends on the kind of family they're living in. Maybe,
yes,
let's say their parents are sick, and maybe they can't do the work, or their family have matters. Well, yeah, they think that it's their responsibility to, take care of the family. But in fact, it's just the parent's responsibility to take care of them and their entire family. And when the parent have failed to do their responsibility, those responsibility get passed on to their child.
Okay, right. Thank you very much, Jerry, right? And speaking of which, right, once again, is that when we consider responsibility, right, it also actually depends on the workforce, right, as well. For example, usually, right, usually, okay, is that you wouldn't really have young people, right, to go to work, right, because for example, they might not have the, I wouldn't say most of them, right, wouldn't have the intelligence, right, or the necessary skills if, for example, to work in an office job, right, or to do manual labor, right. For example, people who do construction work, right, you need a lot of good physical strength, and very few children, right, they are able to possess this kind of physical strength in order to fulfill these jobs. So as a result, right, we wouldn't really consider it as a responsibility. Okay, right? And what else do we also have? Arnold, right? Can you tell us, right, about the different types of responsibilities between different age groups?
Well, first off, we need to establish that what is the like different role.
Oh,
Oh, as I was saying, we need to establish the different age developments, such as from ages through 0 to 5, since you are newborn to when you're 5, uh, till you're in secondary, tertiary schooling, and also university. Like the differing age groups, like gives you the like the gap, like the very small gap, so that you can improve on your understanding. Because for example, from ages from 0 to 6, that's when you're still trying to understand the world. You're copying your parents are as a whole your hero, or someone that you look up to as like for a definition of what is responsibility, because most of that comes from our parents. For example, Jerry may like to say that we should be more responsible by saying that we need to work on ourselves. But in my family, they say that my responsibility is just helping out the people that surrounds me first before we can continue help strangers. Because the point of responsibility is that you can look back into it and you can always rely on that to bring you forward, or at least to help you decide on what to do next, because that as a baseline is where your ethics and where your morals come from. Like for example, if I were a 7-year-old child who wants to become a doctor because my parents, or at least when I see someone become hurt and I couldn't do something about it, but when I see a ER worker, or an aka emergency worker, they come in and they resuscitate the victim, then that's when you really have a sense of, I want to do this. That is my responsibility, because you want to do something that helps others.
Right, thank you very much, Arnold. So basically, to recap what you said, right, I think you said that responsibility must first form as a mindset, as a thought first, right, before the child actually is able to understand that concept or the definition of responsibility from observing the world around them. And after that, right, they can perform, right, or they will have their own responsibilities. Is that correct?
Yep. And just to add to that, just because it forms from an early age doesn't mean that it will stay that way forever. Because we can see in our daily lives that our dreams, for example, well, when we were little kids, my example, I used to watch like superhero shows such as Adventure Times. And I thought that Finn the Human, he was a pretty interesting character. He was adventurous and he didn't care for the world. I thought that was interesting, and I wanted to become sort of like that person, which is why in my primary schooling days, I just sort of socialize with everyone. I try to make connections. That's why I know you guys. That's why I know Jack. But then slowly, when I like diverged into secondary schooling, I kind of fall into this sort of crisis where I ask myself, what is responsibility? Because I haven't really set that baseline yet. I only looked up to other people. That's when I started questioning what responsibility is and how I could try to make responsibility become my person.
Right. Thank you very much, Arnold, for the extra dialogue, right, or the extra lines that he has just said. Overall, very thoughtful of him, right? And as viewers, right, you should also consider your own responsibilities in life as well, which actually, right, moves into our next question very smoothly as well. And Jerry, right, go ahead and tell us why you think, right, it's important to be responsible.
Well, as I mentioned before, responsibility came in many form, right? And well, mostly responsibility is for the good of you or for the good of the entire community. And well, if you don't fulfill your responsibility, there might comes when there might be consequences for the whole community as a whole. Like for example, take when you're well, let's take school chores for example.
Mm-hmm.
When you're not fulfill your responsibility of cleaning the board, cleaning your class might get dirty, the board might not get wiped, and the teacher's gonna be mad.
Yes.
What's gonna happen then? Your point will get deducted, right? And no one want that. That's your the consequence of not fulfilling your responsibility. Another for me, another responsibility is like taking care of my own health, right? Well, let's say I didn't take care of it. Slowly, I would become fat and lose my good looking and yeah, I might not be as athletic as before.
Yes.
And people might just not like me anymore because I'm not fit no more, and that's the consequence.
Right. Thank you very much, Jerry. Right. So, of course, right, what Jerry has just described, right, or the way that he describes it is that instead of actually talking about the importance of responsibility, right, he talks about what if you are not responsible, right? And I'm pretty sure there is a name for this kind of technique, but that's going to be a topic for another podcast, okay? But back to the main topic here is that Jerry has described it very well, right? He talks about the consequences, right, that could affect other people and you personally, right, if you are not responsible, right? So besides from what Jerry just said, right, is that it could deteriorate your relationships as well as your personal self. What else do you think are the factors to consider, right, when we talk about responsibility, Arnold?
Well, other than the fact that it might become bad or looking at a consequence and action based, then yes, Jerry kind of summed it all up. But we also need to add in the fact that when we want to become responsible, it's not just because the consequences are there. Of course, inaction makes it so that you don't really have anything. You can't create anything, and you are not responsible. Therefore, because responsibility, as we established, is that we have to do something to benefit others, or at least try to shoulder the burden and lessen the difficulty that it has on other people. But in general, if we want to try to become responsible, we also need to look at the fact that I'm kind of lost here. God damn.
Okay, it's fine though, Arnold. But thank you very much, right, for your discussion as well, right? So yes, as everyone right has just heard, right, it's important to be responsible due to many reasons, right? But the most compelling one, as we just heard from Jerry, is that it can deteriorate or it can impact your social relationships, as well as it could ruin your own image, right? And personally, we don't want anything that demotivates, right, or that discourages ourselves to be responsible. And for the next question, I think I would like to, as the host, I would like to share my own personal experience, is that times that I have been irresponsible. Ooh, where do I even start? I think Jerry and Arnold also has their own moments of being irresponsible as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lot of time.
Yes, right. But I will go ahead and start first. And this is still actually a daily occurrence that I'm trying my best to fix, right? But it seems like most of the time, it's probably because I'm lazy. And that responsibility, right, it still revolves around just doing house chores, right? Every once in a while, my house gets dirty really quick. mostly because of the dust, right? Mostly because of the dust that flies into the house. And yeah, I live in like basically a place where there's a lot of traffic as well, right? So dust and basically any other rubbish, right? This has a possibility of somehow getting into my house, and it's a necessity for me to clean it up. But most of the time, I'm not very proactive, and as a result, I just let my house collect like a lot of dust before I get told by my mother that, hey, go clean the house or something like that. And yeah, as a result, you can see that I'm very irresponsible in the fact that I don't clean the house, right? But there's also another kind of irresponsibility, right? Is that I refuse to acknowledge like what my responsibility is. It's a little bit difficult to understand, but do you get me, Jerry?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah, so it's kind of like I fail to understand, right? My responsibility is to understand the responsibility of cleaning the house. If it's a little bit difficult for the viewers, then you might write down a chart or a table, something like that, to make my words a little bit easier, right? But in other words, right, I basically just didn't understand that it's important for me to clean the house and why I must take responsibility in doing so, right? And yeah, I feel like it's a little bit shameful of me, really. But what about Jerry? Have there been any times you've been irresponsible?
Well, I gotta say, there's a time where I'm irresponsible, and I'm speaking for all of us here. So let's say, okay, just a few days ago, let's say Monday, right? I was supposed to do my assignment on coding because, I'm in the computer science major. Well, I got a whole day today, 24 hours. But, well, I finished one of the assignment. Like, you gotta imagine the assignment got a lot of sub-assignment to it. Like question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I just finished the first question. Then I go on YouTube short. I know I'm speaking for all of us here. It's the YouTube short and the Facebook reel.
Generation is real.
Okay, so I saw, okay, just one video.
Yes, just one video.
Just one video, just one Zach film animation. I just want to know how this guy get killed. Or something along that line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I just keep scrolling. Oh, hey, that's a cute cat. Oh, hey, that's a cute dog. Oh, shit. Oh, damn, that thing funny. And the day just passed. 12 hours later, and I'm still not done with my second assignment.
Oh, my goodness. Okay,
we get sidetracked a lot, and that's when I'm irresponsible as hell.
Oh, my goodness.
Another example is like, yesterday, I think. After I finished my presentation, I was supposed to go take a break and go train my body, right? Go get fit and all that.
Go to the gym, right? Is that?
Yeah, I gotta go get fit, work out. But on my way to the gym, because I usually walk. There's a really compelling site there. There's a really compelling building. Well, that's a Latte Mart. They have the one thing that everyone look out for, and that's the My machine.
Oh, the
okay.
arcade
For
machine.
the viewer who don't know what the My machine is, it's basically an arcade machine it's a real arcade machine.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that game. And so I went and do 2 credits. I got late to the PT, the physical trainers, and I got scolded a bit. But yeah, that was when I'm a bit irresponsible, and I know you are too, dear viewers. I know you're not responsible.
I mean, would you consider them being irresponsible if they're watching our podcast instead of studying?
Okay, our podcast is a different thing. It's a sound thing. I listen to music while doing work.
Yes.
If they want to hear my compelling voice, they want to hear my sexy damn voice. But go ahead if that's how you're studying.
Okay, right. Thank you very much, Jerry, right, for the feedback. And of course, Arnold, go ahead and let us know about some of the times where you were a little bit too irresponsible.
I ran away from home.
Oh my god.
That escalated.
Okay, I didn't expect that. Okay,
quickly.
that took a new twist for us. Go ahead.
You should imagine that when I say that my secondary schooling, my secondary years was when I kind of asked a lot of life questions. That's when I just thought, man, staying at home all day doesn't really give me any sort of new perspective. How about I just run away from home for 1 or 2 days to see how life is really like? So on a Saturday morning, I kind of just packed my bags and like sort out a little bit of money so I can last for 1 or 2 days. And I just went out to cafes. I went out to District 1, like the central Vietnam, Saigon. And I just sort of asked people how their life is doing and like how did they get to where they were. And it kind of just gave me new perspectives on life. But then because I left the day that I'm supposed to like do my work, like the week before finals, I kind of just thought like, man, screw it. Secondary isn't really all that life has to offer. So I just kind of went out and just did what I thought was right, and it did give me a bit of like experience and somewhat a new perspective so that I can look back on, and it worked a bit because I thought nowadays that looking back it's kind of ass that I did that, but at the same time I needed it because I need to refresh how I looked at life, because from the point I was born to when I was in secondary, I just didn't really have anything going for me. I just really followed what people told me to do, and then I slowly realized that I need to combine both what I need and what I need to do with what people expect of me.
Right. Thank you very much, Arnold. Right. So that's basically like the turning point where he kind of gets the responsibility for himself, right? Because initially, is that right, Jerry? Do you think that's like basically how it is?
Yeah, but I don't think I agree that it's really a bad thing that you're running away at that point. I think you know that too, right?
Yeah.
Well, you're gathering experience for yourself. Those moments where you feel like, oh, I need to go out. I need to, go outside, take a walk, go downtown, go anywhere. I just want to get out of this place. Now that's the good turning point of your life. And that moment of feeling, it doesn't come often. It's very rarely, there. And once you have the feeling, you need to take it and go. It like, I'm proud that you're taking that time for of yourself to actually go out and see new perspective. Because in life, school doesn't give you that experience. School doesn't give you actual life experience. So either you go out and try for yourself, or you won't learn it all. But I'm not saying school is not important. Of course, it's still important. It still gives you the basic mathematical, all the stuff you need for future job and stuff. But you still need the life experience. You still need to go outside and do something. Well, I'm saying this for most men, okay? I know a lot of you listener, have that feeling to go out sometime. Me too. Me as well. I got that one time after the finals, I think. After I finished the finals, I just feel like, damn, I need to take a walk. And guess what? I walked 30 kilometers straight from District 7 straight to Tân Phú, Aeon Tân Phú. And once I reached there, okay, back then I didn't work out as much, and once I reached there, my leg is break down, and I just start falling on, like, I literally just fell down. I black out right on the floor, and the policeman had to carry me home.
Oh my goodness!
But that was a good experience. Right now, I don't really regret it. I feel like, okay, I walked there. I get to see on the street, on the scenery, and the life of the people around me, the life that I don't know. Like back then, I only know about my home and my school. Those were the two places where I had to travel by car there, and those two were the only two places that I know. Now that I walk there, now that I go outside, I feel like I learned something. I got new experience. I meet new people. I saw people life, and that's the good point, right?
Yes.
And back to Arnold, as I told you, I don't think that's a bad experience at all. Albeit it's irresponsible because of the timing of that event, right?
It's really the topic. I mean,
but it's good for you, correct?
I'd say that I would love to speak for Arnold a little bit here. Is that I think you can see, like when we mentioned earlier about responsibility, right, you can see that there's one part of him being irresponsible and the other part showing great responsibility. And that great responsibility is that he understands his needs to explore the world around him. He understands that his responsibility is that I need to learn more. Just being in one place isn't enough, right? There has to be more for me to learn from the outside world as well. And just like Jerry said about turning points, right? Yes, I do believe that technically, right, if we speak strictly in terms of that, then I would say that Arnold was irresponsible, but at the same time, he also gained a new kind of responsibility, right? Yes, and finally, right, thank you very much, both of you. We will be moving on to our final topic for this, of course, for responsibility, and that is about youth responsibility, okay? So, just a quick reminder, okay, you probably shouldn't do the thing that Arnold just did, right? Run away from home. That's not youth responsibility, okay? Just want to put it out there for everyone, right? Remember, right? I would say that some of you or most of you, right, have very loving families, and you should probably come to understand that as well. But let me start off with this part as well, right? Is that when we talk about youth responsibility, I think the first and most important thing that's also the easiest to talk about has definitely be studying responsibilities, right? Something along the lines of stay in school, don't do drugs, right? Don't take illegal substances, right? Those are the very generic things that we've been told, but they've been very true. Do you agree? Yes, right? Right, and of course, right, youth responsibility, right, is of course studying. So of course I would say that a personal story is that for some people, right, I don't know who, but I've seen on the internet, is that for some college students, right, when they like think about the investment or the money that the parents have invested into their children, but only for them to, let's say that they go to college and they play games in class, or they skip class for different projects that don't really contribute to the betterment of society. Maybe they go play games, or they once again hang out with friends for not really good purposes, okay? And I think, right, that's basically a very big shame, is that they don't see themselves as being responsible to themselves as well as to their family and on a societal level as well, right? And as for Arnold, right, what do you think about, you know, the kind of responsibility that the youth has?
Other responsibilities, well, if we if we talk about our homes, then yes, we have to help out with our families. We have to think that what we can do for others, or at least do for ourselves, to benefit the future. And that's not enough, because responsibility, you need to have a reason why you're being responsible. Yes, you're doing it to benefit the future, but why are you doing it to benefit the future? You have to ask yourself that, because if you don't know why, then you don't know why you're doing it at all. That's the baseline of why people kind of quit. Being responsible means that you need to know the reason, and my reason is because I know that if I could become responsible, I need to do what people expect me to do. I need to know that what I'm doing is right. I need to know what I'm doing is good, and I need to know that it's not breaking the law, or it's not too bad for other people. It's not influencing others in a bad way. And what is good or bad, that's another topic. But my reason is I want to keep everyone around me influenced in a good way.
Okay, right, and that's what also the youth should do, right? Because I'd say that they're very, very energetic, and they can, how should I say this, or they can spread their positive values to the people around them, right? They basically have the most potential in benefiting or changing the world. And as for Jerry, right, let's also add on to this as well. I want to guide you a little bit for this one. It's also the very same classic thing about respecting your parents, right? Your elders, your family members. So regarding this, right, then how should you describe the youth responsibility?
All right. So for my definition of responsibility for the youth, I think you guys should have fun. Because for the youth, you only live once, right?
Yes.
And of course, what in the future when you're an adult, you wouldn't be having as much fun as you right now, right? And you gotta enjoy that, because in life, what matters most is that you having fun. You're living the life. Okay, maybe contributing to society is also a part of life, but most importantly, you gotta take care of yourself. You gotta have the fun you have in when you're young, so that in the future when you're an adult, you're working, you don't have to look back, you're using and be saying, "Oh damn, maybe I should have fun back then. Kind of missed out my youth." Well, so right now, what you're supposed to do is keep studying, keep being nice to your parents, and keep having fun.
All right, thank you very much, Jerry and Arnold, right, for today's episode as well, right? And of course, for a very quick conclusion, right, we talked about how, how responsibility can mean to different people and how it can also be different for different age groups. And then we talk about why it is important for people to become responsible, as well as, share a little bit stories about times when we ourselves, right, people who run this podcast, right, also have been irresponsible, and most importantly, how the youth, right, can try to have their own responsibility in today's world as well, right, not just only in terms of benefiting others, but also themselves. And that's going to be it for today's Radibros Podcast. Thank you very much. And of course, we're sorry if you heard any distractions in the background. We totally did not take this into consideration, but hopefully it wouldn't be much of a big bother to you. All right. Once again, thank you very much, and see you next time.
I'm Jerry. Peace out.